Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Signing. I'm Danny Valdez, and with us today is Sunny Hostin for the live signing of her new book, I Am These Truths, a memoir of identity, justice, and living between two worlds. Sunny's an attorney, multi-platform journalist, and four-time award-winning co-host of ABC's The View. Let's go. Sunny, welcome, and are we ready to sign some books?
We are ready. I've got my pen. I've got my books.
Yeah.
And I'm ready.
So cool. Four Emmys? Is that, you say four?
I got four. Actually, you know what? I have some of them here.
Oh, please bring those out.
I got one.
Oh my gosh. Why do they look more magical? Like, I know I'm not in person, but somehow I feel closer to the Emmy. Those are bigger than I pictured.
They are big, right?
Wow. And you've got four of those.
I do.
Oh my gosh. And was it in a specific category or just?
Yes. This one was for a report that I did for Good Morning America. And one of the other ones was for a special that I did with President Obama called The President and the People.
Okay.
And another one was also for a report on Good Morning America.
Wow.
And the most recent one is for The View.
Whoa. So you can win an Emmy for just like one special that you did. It could be so fantastic that you'll win an award for it.
Yes.
Incredible. Congrats on all that.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people tuning in, and I want to let you guys know for the next hour, Sunny's going to be signing books, of course, and answering as many of your questions as possible for those of you who bought books. And for those of you who have just tuned in and have not yet purchased a book, you actually still have time to order an autographed copy and submit a question to Sunny. Just click over to premiercollectibles.com/truths to order a copy. And she's actually signing her authentic signature in all these books. Like, she's going to work on this. It's not a rolled stamp, right? No. It's her actual signature. So this is an authentic collectible book you're buying.
Yes,
and Sunny, I'm curious.
A lot of them, so I'm going to be signing throughout. So
yeah. Well, why did you write this book? I mean, let's dive in. Why write the book? Why now?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. One, I feel like people are so hopeless right now, and my story is one that isn't an easy one because my parents were teenagers when they had me. We lived in the South Bronx projects in poverty. There were definitely days where there was no hot water or heat or food, but there was a lot of love and laughter. And so, and even with all those obstacles, I'm still here talking to you, signing a book.
Let's go.
But I wanted to make sure that I was kind of a possibility model for people. And
yes.
I was also one day speaking to Justice Sotomayor, and I know that sounds like a crazy name drop, but I have the honor of knowing her. And
I'll be dropping your name soon. No worries.
And Justice Sotomayor and I were speaking about the fact that we have similar backgrounds. She's Puerto Rican, also from the South Bronx projects, has had many challenges in her life, has diabetes, all of these things. And she said, you really should write a book. And it's important for people to know that you can learn in failure, and you can still be successful. And I said, I think I am going to write that book. And she said, but make sure that it's in Spanish and English. You must promise me that.
So there's a Spanish version?
There is a Spanish version. Yo soy estas verdades.
Okay. And that's at the Premier Collectibles site as well, then.
Yes, it is. And the reason I thought it was, the reason the justice told me it was important, and that I agree with her, is, there are so many kids that English is their second language, and it's my second language. And you feel different, and you feel odd, and you're made to feel like your English is not good enough. And then at some point in your life, your Spanish is really not good enough because your English is now better. And she said to me, if there's a little girl or boy reading your book in Spanish, knowing who you are now, it will make them feel special. And so it's in Spanish, Justice Sotomayor.
That is so huge. And now you said you're half Puerto Rican and half African-American. Is that right?
Yes, half Puerto Rican, half African American.
So I don't really even know what I am these days, but my dad's ancestors are from Spain.
Yes.
And they lived in Mexico. So, I say I'm half Mexican, even though it's, Spanish blood. And then I'm supposed to be the other half Italian, but I was raised by an African-American man in Memphis.
Wow.
And so I feel more, I feel more, I don't relate to Italian culture. I've never been to Italy.
Yeah.
I more relate to African-American culture than I do even to my Mexican side, And so were you raised by both of your parents?
Wow. So you're talking about identity, which I love, because that's what I talk about in my book. And my mom is actually Puerto Rican on her mother's side, but her father is a Sephardic Jew. So a Spanish Jew from Spain, by way of Puerto Rico. So she's what they consider a white Hispanic.
Yeah.
And my father's Black. And I was raised by both. But I felt like most of my life, my mom is like this blonde, light-eyed woman, and my father's a Black guy.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, no one looked like me. No one. I didn't look like people on my mother's side of the family, and I certainly didn't look like anyone on my father's side of the family. And I've realized as I've gotten older, Danny, that it's like the Loving decision came down in 1967 when a Black person and a white person could get married. My parents got married in 1968. So that's why growing up, I felt different and I looked different and I was treated differently.
Yeah.
Now there are plenty of people that look like me. There are plenty of biracial people.
Right.
But then, I didn't feel like I had a true identity. I just felt like I was living in the gray. I'm sure you felt this.
I'm feeling goosebumps all over because you're just literally describing my childhood. When you talk about identity and what we say, when we say, who I am and what I'm about and what I'm supposed to be and what I'm allowed to do. I think one thing people don't understand about identity is that you can have a road in your mind mentally paved for you for success. And you can have a road paved for you before you decided anything.
Yep.
People, in a sense, I don't believe in destiny, but at the same time, some would seem destined to go down dark paths.
Yes.
And it's so hard to get people to accept that there's not always equal grounds that people are walking on. There's absolutely unfair advantages depending on how you grew up and what your identity is.
No question. And I explored that in the book because I think people see me on TV and they know that I was a federal prosecutor and they're like, she's had it easy, or, who is she to talk about racial equity, and who is she to talk about social justice? And I'm like, well, I was pretty poor. I did go to college, but I could only go to a college that offered me a full scholarship because my parents couldn't afford to send me. I could only go to a law school that offered me a full scholarship. There were certain choices that were made for me simply because of who the way I was born.
Yeah. And when you're little, your brain's not developed enough to go, hey, that doesn't have to be me. That doesn't have to be my lot. You just find yourself in the career you're doing, and you don't even know how you got there.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what sort of personal identity issues, because we've got the world all pushing in a certain direction, but then we've got our own mind. Can you share a little about your own identity issues that you had to overcome and what new things you had to believe to get to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely talk about career often. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist from as far as I can remember, because when I was growing up, there was no one that really looked like me on television. And my parents were definitely of the go to law school or medical school. Lawyers, doctors, that's what you do because it's safe.
Yeah.
And
like in the Cosby Show.
The Cosby Show.
Remember?
Lawyer, doctor. Like that's how you make your money.
You got to pick.
And here I am, like in the bathroom pretending to be, a broadcast journalist. And so I went to law school and it was great. And I loved being a lawyer, but in the back of my mind, I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. So I started, making some changes. But when I finally kind of broke in, I was on Court TV, and my real name's Asuncion. It's not Sunny, but no one could remember my name.
Can you say that again?
Asuncion.
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 I
No
love
one
that.
could pronounce it. And Nancy Grace, I was on Court TV one day with Nancy Grace, and at the break, and she was butchering my name. It was terrible. And Nancy and I are friends. And she would just say, I was Hostin, you know? I was like, what is that?
By the way, her live signing's at 3:00 today, Central Time.
Is it? Just remind her of this.
Okay, I will.
I do write about it in the book. And she says at the break, she says, can I say something to you? And I said, yes. Said, your name, you know, Asuncion, whatever it is. No one can pronounce it. They can't remember it. All this. And I was like, I know, but that's my name. And that was, you know, I'm named after my grandmother's sister. It's a very Puerto Rican name. It's a traditional name. It was, you know, it was important to me. And she said, do you have a nickname? And I said, well, in college, people called me Sunny. She changes my Chiron. And she's like, we're back with Sunny Hostin. And
oh my God.
I just went with it.
And it's been Sunny ever since?
It's been Sunny ever since. And
so Nancy Grace gave you your stage name, if you will?
And I never was able to go back because after that, my career took off. So when you talk about like identity issues, people are often like, you're Latina? But your name is, I'm like, yeah, I know, it's a long story. But that's one of the concessions that I made in terms of identity, trying to make it in this business. You know, it was a more Americanized identity.
Right.
And television, unfortunately, that is sometimes part of it. And I also made concessions just in my voice. You know, I wanted to be a social justice advocate, but I thought the way to do that would just be just the facts, ma'am. You know, and I write about that also because the Trayvon Martin case really changed my life. And I started giving voice to the real, I guess, the emotional, the feelings and emotions that the Black community was experiencing from that in 2013. Yeah. And that's another time when my career took off because I found my authentic voice. Yeah. I've been, you know, someone who had, you know, uncles that were subjected to police brutality and violence and that kind of thing. Yeah. You know, I've had the journey of identity throughout my entire life and have had to make concessions because of it. As I'm sure you have as well. I mean, we tend to do that in our lives.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I went to lots of different kinds of schools because, again, my single mom moved around and you know, different men in and out of my life. And, you know, I didn't really identify with Mexican culture, but my last name was Valdez. And so I was wetback, right? Like I got called that and I felt ostracized. I felt I wasn't with all these guys could, you know, do athletic stuff and they were taller than me. And I was just like this little wetback. And that in my mind, like that built stuff. And, you know, at that time I didn't have a voice. And I love what you're saying about how you have given voice to people because so often people that feel something the most and are suffering from something the most don't always have a voice to make that understandable to people who can change that suffering. And I think it's so important that people like yourself speak on things, and that if they hit you in the heart, you got to talk about it. So I love what you're saying.
Thank you. Thank
you. So I want to talk and ask all my own personal questions for the next 5 hours, but a lot of questions have come in from people who have bought your book. And I know they have so many questions too. And so if you're ready, we can dive in.
I'm ready. I'm signing. I'm ready.
Okay, great. So want to take a question from Eldon from Jasper, Ontario. Okay. And he asked, which case has stuck with you the most through the years?
Oh, definitely the Trayvon Martin case.
Yeah.
It stuck with me so much because a lot of people don't know. I was one of the first national reporters that brought that case sort of to the forefront. Ben Crump and I have been friends for a really long time. And Ben called me when I was at CNN and said, Sonny, I've got another one of these cases. And he's been covering these cases for a long time and representing families. And he said, it's a Black boy. He's only 16. He got, he was trying to get home to see his dad, and he was shot and killed. And you got to report on this. And he gave me all the information, and I went to a couple of people at CNN, and they said, that's a local story. Like literally, quote unquote, that's a local story. We hear about those types of things all the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went to Anderson Cooper's EP, executive producer, Charlie Moore, who's an incredible guy. And I said, you got to let me tell this story. This is different. This is happening, Charlie, all over the country. People got to know about it. People got to know about it. And he said, okay, let's do it. And it sort of, blew up, as most people know. And then I was sent to Sanford, Florida to cover it. And I was in the courtroom. I got to know Trayvon's mom, his dad, his brother.
Wow.
I got to know that Trayvon was training with the first Black pilot to fly around the world. Trayvon wanted to be either a pilot or a mechanic on airplanes. He was really good in science and math. There were all these things about Trayvon Martin that no one knew. And I knew those things. And then to see him portrayed as this thug who smoked pot all the time and who wore a grill on his teeth, I just remember thinking, as the mother of a Black boy, oh my God, this is what the media does. This is how the media portrays kids like my son.
Yeah.
I was horrified. And I kind of found my voice right then and there. And all of a sudden, I wasn't just reporting like, I'm Sunny Hostin in Sanford, Florida, and this is what happened in court today. I started kind of saying, I saw this other report, and that's not what happened in court today.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just changed not only the trajectory of my career, it changed my life. Like, it was just this moment, Oprah talks about the aha moment. Mm-hmm. That was the moment for me. Not even, in my time as a prosecutor at the Justice Department did I experience that kind of moment. Yeah.
And did you, when you decided I'm taking this on personally, I'm standing up here, was there that because you're on this career path that you're building, was there a moment where you were like, man, this could be the thing that, everybody comes against me about and ends up, putting me on the do not hire list?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I write about this in the book. I got a call from CNN that said, you need to come back to New York because you're getting too close to this case. Wow. And I was like, what? I know everybody. I know the prosecutors. I know the defense team. I know the court officers. They're letting me into the courtroom. And they said, no, we're letting somebody else come in. And I actually stayed anyway.
Oh, man.
And borrowed some courtroom passes from Univision.
My.
And
behind the scenes with Sunny. Let's do it.
Continued covering the case. And my good friend Don Lemon, who is in this book and wrote the blurb for the book, which is I think on the back of the book, on the jacket, kept on putting me on his show. And so
you're doing this at the risk of basically your boss back home saying, knock it off.
What the heck is she doing on Don Lemon's show?
Wow.
But I think our coverage was so good that they just let it stand. And then at the end of the day, I got the only interview with Trayvon's family, including his brother. His brother hasn't been interviewed again, actually. So wow. I took a risk at great personal expense, but it was important because what I was seeing was the truth, and my voice was the truth. I guess that's why the part of the book is I am these truths, right? Like I want to inspire people to to do what they feel is right, to be guided by what they feel is their truth. Because while I did that, and I'm not advising people to like not listen to their bosses, but I did that at great personal expense.
Yeah.
But it started a trajectory in my career that I think landed me on The View. I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a crossroads story of doing like following the conviction of your heart versus that.
Fired.
That's what I'm saying. Like versus that which seems to be like the just play along, like you're working at a very high level. You could end it all now, and yet it's the thing that goes on to get you on The View. Emmy, excuse me, not Grammys. Did you win any Grammys that we need to know about?
No Grammys yet.
Emmy Awards. I mean, that like I'm telling you, I'm feeling the inspiration.
Oh, good.
Like that.
Fired, but
yeah. That's very inspirational. And so you talk about the Trayvon Martin case in your book. Do you talk about these turning points, these pivotal moments?
Absolutely. Because I want people to know that, Mark Twain writes about how, there are two important days in your life. One is the day you're born, and two is the day where you find out why. I think there are really 3 days, right? The first day is when you're born, but that can't define who you are because we're all born in certain circumstances that you can't control. A very important part is when you find out why.
Wow.
I certainly found out why during that case. I found out why. That's my passion. I got to speak truth to power and advocate for people and give voice to the truth. But I think another very important day is who you're not going to be. Right?
Yeah.
Who aren't you going to be? We all see people and we're like, wow, that person is a liar. They are not living their truth. That person is not going to take a risk. That person's playing it safe. That person is who I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really, really important day in your life as well. And I found that day I have found those days in certain situations as well.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk. Forget it. I'm not going to be that person that doesn't do that.
That's so huge. I love that. Let's take Mike's question from Massachusetts. He says, in the age of Trump and Trumpism, what gives you hope that America can once again become that beacon of hope for the world?
Oh, wow. That's a serious question, Mike.
There's a lot of serious ones here.
Okay. I remain hopeful because I really think life is a pendulum, right? Remember that, when President Obama was elected, people like my father, who reminded me recently that I am the first person on his side of the family to enjoy full civil rights. That when he was born, he didn't have full civil rights, which is unbelievable, right? When President Obama was nominated, my father said, he'll never win.
Yeah.
He'll never win. I'm not going to live to see a Black president. And he did win, not once, but twice. He was elected. And then we saw this backlash, I think, where people felt like, one, he didn't do enough. And two, oh my goodness, we're getting to a place where, I don't know, minority rules. And so we're going to have this tremendous pendulum. And now we have this divisiveness in our country with Trump and Trumpism. And I don't think that's who we are. I think it's more of a backlash. And I think the pendulum has to come back to someplace normal, because this is abnormal. What we're seeing in this country, I have never seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I write about a little bit about that in the book, that in my foreword, actually, that I hope that we are coming to a place of truth and honor again in the country where we are literally, where we need to talk to each other and find common ground, because we are more alike than we are dissimilar. We are.
I can't tell you how much I agree with you there. I have neighbors who are, I don't know how else to put it. They're either violent conservatives or violent liberals, or, and these are names, humans made up at one point. But like, when I talk to both, I'm like, wow, you are unlike the psychopath that Facebook would have me believe you are. You're actually quite reasonable. I totally understand why you feel the way you feel. Yeah. There is wisdom to what you're saying. I mean, I've said that to both friends. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed people on both sides, and every time I'm like, that's amazing. Yeah. That is so rational. That I get it. And while both views may be very different, there's truth in them, and mm-hmm. I think there could be this beautiful balance. Do you feel, you're on The View, do you feel like in that show, or even other shows where there is dialogue from opposing viewpoints, that in the end, do you feel like there ever is sort of a middle ground people meet at, but by the time the show's over? Or what's your take on that?
It's funny. I was also going to add, I think our show's emblematic of my point.
Okay.
Let's say in particular, my friendship with Meghan McCain. We are as different as two people can be. I grew up, in the South Bronx projects. She grew up on a ranch in Arizona.
Wow.
Born of two very wealthy parents.
Sure.
And she's extremely conservative. I wouldn't consider myself ultra liberal, but I'm certainly much more left than she is. And we have established a friendship, and people are shocked by that.
Yeah.
Probably just as shocked as they were to find out that Justice Scalia and Justice Ginsburg were good friends.
Yeah.
We don't agree. Meghan and I don't agree on many things politically, almost nothing really.
Yeah.
But she's got a wicked sense of humor.
Yeah.
She loves her family. Yeah. I do too. I have a subversive sense of humor, which most people don't know. And we both like bourbon. So there are like these
camaraderie going on.
There are these things, these commonalities that we both, I'm Catholic, she's Christian, but we both have the same love of God. We have these commonalities, and that's what we bond over, right? Yeah. Even if we're arguing about different things, at our core, we're similar.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people have to get to.
Yeah.
We have to get to a place where we don't just see the differences. We have to see the similarities and work from there. And that's what we try to do on The View. Not always successfily, because you see that.
Yeah, we do. Those, when I watch The View, sometimes they'll get this fervor pitch where I literally will turn it off. No offense, but I'm just like, it's like, it's so intense. Like, is it that way for you? Do you ever get to where you're just like, I cannot do that for another 5 minutes? I mean, how do you stay strong there?
Every day, but there are days when I walk off set and I'm like, I am never speaking to her again. Never speaking to her again. And then you get home and you're like, and we'll say, and generally, by and large, when that happens, the other person will text you and say, okay, was out of line.
Really?
Sorry about that. It always happens. And there are days when I come home and I'm like, okay, I got to send the text because I was out of line on that one.
Yeah.
And so we've been working together for like 5 years now. So we all know when we've done it, but there are days, when we're like really angry with each other because we talk about things that people aren't even supposed to talk about, in polite circles.
Well, I interviewed Trey Gowdy, and he is known. If you put in Trey Gowdy on YouTube, it will auto fill for you. Trey Gowdy trashes this person. Trey Gowdy fillets this person. they will never be the same after Trey Gowdy. And of course the video then delivers on that promise. Yeah. But when I interviewed him, I found this really relaxed, hilarious, by the way, like comedian level funny, like sharp wit. And I asked him, one of the questions I said was, hey man, the interview's over. Like, if there's one thing that you just want to say to America, like it's not teed up by my question, just you go. What do you want to say? And what he said was, he wishes that people could realize that when the camera turns off and the vigorous debate is over, we are actually, so many of us are great friends. Yeah. We actually respect each other in real life. We know each other's families even. He said, but, and he's of course speaking, politically. I mean, he's saying that we have jobs to do. We're representing people. Politicians are representing people that voted for them. Yes. And they're bringing causes to the surface. And so he wanted people to know that there's a lot of unity and camaraderie. Absolutely. That they'd never be aware of.
Absolutely. And that's how we are. I feel like, I represent a voice. And I know I do, because people tell me, oh, you said exactly what I was thinking. I know that's why I'm there. I'm there to give voice to that perspective. And, there are others that are there to give voice to a different perspective. So we're going to battle that out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we can't find some common ground and just hang out and just do that.
Have some coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Have some
Hello.
Hang out. Have some fun.
Before we started, we checked out your coffee mug on your back, and we're at your home, right?
I am. I'm
at home. And that's I noticed a collectible View coffee mug. Can someone find those anywhere? Are those on Amazon or something?
This is from season 21.
Okay.
When it was Whoopi, me, Joy, Sarah, Paula Faris, and Jedediah Bila.
Wow.
And this one, Joy gave this one to me. Let me see who's on this. This is 2013 spring. Joy, I'm not sure what this one is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
It's Barbara, Sherry, Whoop. Maybe it's Elizabeth Hasselbeck. It doesn't look like her though. 16 years. It must have been Liz. But I think we still sell some of them on our website and probably, I don't know, eBay. But
okay.
We have a joke on our show, at least Megan and I do, Joy too. You don't want to get put on the mug, because it seems like when your face gets on the mug, then they fire you. So After this season, the mug changed. So I don't want to be on the mug anymore.
Don't get on the mug.
No, don't get on the mug. We have a new mug. I don't know where it is, but it says just the view from home.
Nice.
No faces, nothing. I that. I don't want my face on the mug anymore. I've lasted, because this is season 21 and we're at season 24 now. So I've lasted a while, even though I'm on the mug.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the mug anymore.
Well, be careful. All right. Michael from New Jersey asks, you show tremendous grace and poise daily on The View. What is your secret to keeping calm when things get spirited?
That's a good question. Well, a couple of things. I think it has a lot to do with my upbringing, and I actually write about this in the book as well. My life has been sort of tumultuous. My parents were teenagers when they had me, 18 and 19, and there was a lot of like alcohol and drugs in the household and parties. And it was so chaotic that what I chose to do was read and kind of go into myself. Mm-hmm. I remember one time even my grandmother's husband lit the curtains on fire.
Wow. During one of these parties? Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
He had been drinking too much, lit the curtains on fire.
My gosh.
And his name was Dr. Dash. His real name was Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R.
His given name.
That's his given name. Yeah, they wanted him to be a physician, so they named him Doctor. But
I love that.
He was a sanitation man, a wonderful guy, but his name Dr. Dash. So Doc lit the curtains on fire, and everybody's running around. I just sat there and I just read. And so that's always been my way of dealing with chaos. Other people explode, I kind of go into myself. And my husband often says that about me. You know, my son's an athlete, and you know, he got hurt on the football field once, and you know, everybody's like running to the field, and I just kind of sat there.
Really?
I was panicked inside.
Sure.
I just sat and looked. And he said, my husband said, if ever there's an emergency, I'm the person that he wants.
Wow.
With him, because I can act gracefully under pressure. And I think it's because of the chaotic childhood that I had. I couldn't ever lose it because the adults around me were losing it.
Wow.
So someone kind of just had to be graceful and calm. And
wow.
I kind of think facts trump emotion all the time, and action trumps emotion.
Sure.
So it's what works for me. You know, because when the ladies are losing it on the show, I'm like, what is that? Like, that's not helpful, right? Like, you gotta be calm and use this and answer, and that's what works. And that's never failed me. So I think that's why.
Ryler from Portland, Oregon, what books have you read that inspired you to write this book?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, when I decided that I was going to write it, I read a lot. I'm a voracious reader. It drives my husband crazy because he doesn't understand. He's an audiobook guy. What he doesn't understand is that I read a lot of them at the same time. And I know that sounds like chaotic, but it's like I get a little bored with one book and then I do another one. And then, do you do that too, Danny?
100%.
It's weird, right?
It's so weird. And I'll even skip and graze through the back pages a little, just sneak some back pages in. Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, it's going to end well. I'm going to keep with it. And then I go to the beginning.
And I'm with you on the reading. I'm a crazy reader. I love to read so much.
I love it.
Yeah.
So at any given time, I have different books on our nightstand. Sometimes I take over my husband's nightstand. Yep. So I was reading, I love Ta-Nehisi Coates. And so I was reading a couple of his books. And then I started reading James Baldwin a lot. And sort of going back to his work. And it kind of inspired me to sort of be that truth teller.
Yeah.
I'm looking over here. Wait 1 second.
Yeah, we're good. I'll tell some jokes while you're gone. I'm kidding, people. I don't have any jokes.
So one of the things that I grabbed, there's the, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a film, I Am Not Your Negro.
Okay.
But it was done from text by James Baldwin.
Wow.
And I think what was interesting is, you know, he was such a truth teller and said things that I don't know that people received very well. Sure. At the time. But when you reread it, and I suggest people really have to reread it, he said something about identity that helped me write the book, because the book is called, you know, I Am These Truths, but it's also a memoir of identity, justice, and living between worlds. Right. He said, you have to define, I'm paraphrasing, but you have to define who you are for yourself, because if you let the world do it for you, you're in real trouble. And I just remembered thinking, wow, he's so right, because the world's always tried to define me. Yeah. You can't let the world define you in that way. And then I started really down a rabbit hole with texts by James Baldwin. And he also, you know, the more famous quote, of course, is, you know, to be a Negro in America is to live in a perpetual rage. But the most important one, I think, for me, when I was reading, and I'm going to have to paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me, but was, I love this country so much that I reserve the right to perpetually criticize her. I agree with that so much. And I criticize not only the country and the state of things in my book, I also criticize my employer, right? In the book as well. I criticize ABC and at risk, because I started thinking there aren't that many people, right, that write books about their jobs while they're still working there. They usually wait until they leave. And I didn't do that. I wrote about some discrimination that I experienced and some unpleasant work experiences. But I feel kind of like that I love working at ABC. I love working at The View. So to make it a better place, I perpetually, reserve the right to criticize her.
Yeah. Wow. So. In your book, is there an overarching identity that you hope to set people free from?
Yeah. That's also a good question, Danny. I hope to actually release people or give people permission to really speak their truth and not allow others to define them. I remember there was this one executive at CNN. I don't name him in the book.
Sure.
But I told him that I wanted to be a host. And I had always been sort of, forever the bridesmaid and not the bride.
Sure.
While I was at CNN. They kept on letting me be a contributor and I was an analyst, but, and they even used me to audition prospective hosts. They would have these auditions and have me sitting there and
really?
be interviewed. Yeah. And they did it all the time. They would have pilots for other people and they would use me as sort of like the reporter, but never the host. And I went to, finally, I went to the executive and I said, hey, you guys think I'm good enough to like audition the people?
Right.
You're bringing on as host for the shows that I'm on.
Yeah.
Why can't you give me a shot at doing it? I actually think I'm pretty good. I mean, I have a journalism degree and a law degree.
Right.
And I've been with the network for years. And he told me that I was really good at being a contributor and I was really good at being an analyst and that I should stay in my lane.
Stay in that lane.
Those were the words, man.
Wow.
Stay in your lane. And I just, that thing just, I played that tape in my mind, probably for months after.
Yes.
And I believed it.
Yes. If the top people, the professionals are saying it, well, who?
Must be true.
Yeah.
It must be true.
Who am I to they're up there for a reason. They select talent. They're the one who's in charge of casting or whatever.
Must be true.
It's heavy stuff.
And that very same person actually emailed me to congratulate me not only on my Emmy wins, but also on my my seat at the table at The View. Almost as if he forgot that he told me that.
Oh, yes.
I wasn't good enough.
You already know.
So I write about that in the book. So that to show people that you can't let other people define your success. You also can't let people aren't going to understand your dream, and that's fine because the dream is not for them. It's for you. It doesn't matter if they don't believe it. It's just for you to understand it and to achieve it. And that's what you have to hold on to all the time.
This interview's for me, if no one else. Kaylin from New York, what is your biggest piece of advice for young women trying to find their place in the world and career path?
Oh, I think that couple of things. I was told once that, first, my father gave me this piece of advice. He said that you really have to work, you have to find work that doesn't feel like work. because if you are truly doing something that you love, you will be great at it, you'll be successful at it, and you won't feel like you are working. And the money will come. So you don't want to work just for money. You don't want to do that. And eventually the money will come because you'll be so good at it. And he told me that when I was struggling with whether or not to leave a very lucrative law firm job. I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life, but I wake up in the morning and I freaking hated it. You know, they were about to make me partner, and it was like, you're going to get more cake. And I was like, but I hate cake. So that's how I felt. And then so I think, you know, that's a fancy way of saying, you know, follow your passion. But more importantly, I think passion has to be coupled with purpose, because we are all here for a reason. And the reason really is to do something for someone who can never repay you, because you can't really live a perfect life without being selfless. And if that is somehow giving voice to other people, or helping your family, or making the country a better place, whatever that is, that is hopefully what you ground your career in, to make a difference for folks. So, and three, I know this, I'm getting long-winded, but I think this is an important question. You never compromise yourself, but someone also told me that every decision about your career, quite frankly, is made when you're not in the room. And I thought, that sounds crazy, but in retrospect, that's true. Every decision about your career, like when people tell you to stay in your lane, right? It's just made when you're not in the room by people like that. So you have to have someone in the room who has capital, has power. And that person has to be willing to use that power on you. And when you, in turn, have that seat at the table, you have to be willing to use that power to open up the door for other people. That's what I try to do on The View. Now I have the power to give voice to other people. But I'm saying that so that once you do find that passion and that purpose, make sure to pay it forward, because that's sort of that full circle moment. Because in helping others, you really lift up your career also.
Wow.
So it's sort of multifactorial, right? I know I'm like kind of getting all in the weeds, but
this is your live signing.
What is that?
This is your live signing. You can go to the weeds.
It's really important, right? So it's just like a combination of all those things, I think, that make people successful ultimately, and that's how you find your place in the world.
So good.
I think.
Sally from Tennessee, how are the chickens?
Thank you, Sally. So it's getting a little colder in New York, and so my chickens are molting, meaning they're losing their feathers, and they're not giving me as many eggs right now. So I just spent this weekend basically cleaning out the coop, because they're like feathers everywhere, not many eggs, a lot of poop. My son usually helps me with it, but he is not here. So my daughter was helping me and complaining the whole time, but I have 13 chickens now, and I'm getting the coop ready for, winter. And the girls are doing really, really well. They're getting along kind of, they kind of peck at each other. But the other thing is Martha Stewart promised me guard geese. Meaning, if you have geese, apparently you can let your chickens free range, and the geese protect the chickens.
Those geese are hardcore.
That's what I heard. See, I'm from the Bronx. I had no idea. So Martha's telling me that I need these geese.
Yeah.
But she hasn't given them to me yet. I'm still waiting for the geese.
Come on, Martha.
I know. I used to let the chickens, the hens free range a lot, but I had a hawk attack. So now
Yeah.
that's why I only have 13 hens. So I had a few more. So now I'm freaked out about letting them just, free range. So I have to definitely be outside now when I let them out. But once I get my geese.
Yes. Yeah. A dog will protect the geese too, but also eat the geese. I'm sorry. A dog will protect your chickens, but also eat your chickens.
I have Cocker Spaniels, but I don't necessarily want them out with them alone.
Yeah, no, they get too excited. Those little chickens start ruffling their feathers and twitching around and peck, and those dogs just, oh man, go with the geese. We're getting close to out of time, but I want to squeeze these last couple questions in.
Okay.
How do you talk to your children about Black Lives Matter protests happening around the country from Frank in Minnesota?
I lost a little bit of what you asked. You said, how do I talk to my children about Black Lives Matter and?
Yep. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you talk to your children about Black Lives Matter protests that are happening around the country?
We definitely talk about it. As I mentioned, my son actually just took a gap year instead of starting Harvard this fall, and he's going to start college next year. And that is because he is on the West Coast studying environmental conservation, because for him, what is really an existential threat is climate change. And so he is going towards the wildfires instead of away from them. And he's taking water samples and earth samples and that sort of thing. So but before he left, we absolutely talked about it a lot. I have the honor and the benefit of knowing Alicia Garza, one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the movement. A lot of the protests that you see are being framed as riots, when in fact 93% of the protests have been peaceful. And a lot of the coverage, I think, has been very skewed. Black Lives Matter is actually very organized, and you can look on their website and see the chapters, and there are protests that are planned and organized, and they certainly never advocate violence or rioting or anything like that. And so I do speak to my children about our right to protest and how important it is, I think, to speak truth to power. And I will tell you that my daughter, 14-year-old daughter, teaches me. There's such an incredible amount of information out there. There are days when I come home and she says, "Did you hear the latest in the Breonna Taylor case?" So at this point in our lives, I feel like they're the educators, that I've laid the foundation, but they are so socially active that it's a give and take conversation at this point. And I'm learning, I think, even more from them.
Yeah. Wow. All right. We got to go to 22 questions in 2 minutes. Do you think we could do it in 2 minutes?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I'm going to let's rapid fire these.
Okay.
They don't have to be right. Just the first thing that comes to mind. Let's do it. Where were you born?
New York City.
Who would you want to play you in a movie?
Oh, someone young and unknown, so they can have a shot.
An upcomer. She's out there. What was your first job?
Oh, I was a film processor at O. Henry's Film Works in Grand Central Station. What
is your biggest fear?
Roller coasters.
Who makes you laugh the most?
My husband.
What is one thing you need to have in your fridge at all times?
Oh, fresh lemon juice.
What is your greatest accomplishment?
My children.
Who is the most interesting person you met recently?
Most interesting. Oh, I meet so many interesting people. I got to get back to that one.
Pass.
Pass, because there's so many.
What is your middle name?
Cummings.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Rude people.
Rude people, yes. What is the last book you read?
Last book, City Mouse.
City Mouse. What is your favorite
Oh, actually, no,
hobby?
not City Mouse. Melania and Me.
What's your favorite hobby?
I play tennis and I tend to my hands.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Bourbon.
Yeah. Do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents.
Flute, saxophone, juggling.
I play piano.
Hey. Oh, I wish we had more time for some piano playing. What is your secret snack?
Funyuns.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You unleash the Memphis in me right now. Funyuns and honey buns. We used to go to the gas station with all the nickels we had to our life and buy honey buns and Funyuns. How do you take your coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
That's right. You're a tea lady, right?
A tea drinker.
Where can people get your limited edition autographed book?
I've partnered with the Latinx incredible bookstore, and you can check my website, sunnyhostin.com, and you can get that there.
What is the last gift you gave?
Oh, the last gift I gave. I actually gave my son a gift before he went to his environmental conservation trip.
What cause is dear to your heart?
Oh, I have a few, but the Bronx Children's Museum. It's the only, the Bronx is the only borough that does not have a children's museum. And I've been working for 3 years to raise money to try to get that up and running. And with the pandemic, of course, our fundraising has dwindled terribly, and we were supposed to open in October and we weren't able to do it. So I'm trying to raise funds again to do that.
Let's do it, Bronx. What is number one on your bucket list?
Oh, number one on my bucket list. I want to learn to swim better. Yeah.
Where do you want to go that you've never been?
I'd like to go to Japan.
Japan it is, and that's all the time we have to order Sunny's limited edition autograph book. Go to premiercollectibles.com/truths. And to be a part of the live signing experience with more of your favorite authors, follow Premier Collectibles on Instagram or Facebook. Sunny, I got to tell you, this has been such a pleasure. You are an authentic soul. You've got insight. I love your inspirational story of how much you've had to overcome, not only from the world around you, but also your own mindsets to break through, do what you love, find your calling, find what you're not good at, or find what you don't want to be, find what you are going to be. And to have those pivotal moments and share them with us has been huge for me. And I know from all your friends who've tuned in and all of us at Premier Collectibles, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Danny. It was such a pleasure. And thank you for taking the time.
Great. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.
Hi.
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really
happy to hear that.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? We're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my Irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia, because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
You can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
We have fans from all over who have written questions that they want to ask you.
Oh dear.
And they're also gonna get signed copies of the book. We're so excited.
Yeah.
So you ready to jump into some questions?
Yes.
Hey, we're live at the live signing.
To my mind, the successful feeling at the end of a book is not that you have done everything you could with the book, but that you scratched the surface.
So it was a wonderful, it was a wonderful experience and a wonderful discipline in storytelling.
I'm gonna start signing right now. I guess I'll sign in red. You know, red, I'm a Delta, red.
Can you guys see that? See, there's a little smudge right there. So if you see a little smudge, that means Charles jumped on the book as I was signing it.
I don't mind doing signings because people really love a signed copy of a book. I know I do. I will sometimes sign a book to myself.
You were only 7 weeks old, and ABC really wanted to get the new host in that seat and get things going. And I said, but I'm breastfeeding. And by the way, that was at a point like in 1979, coming up on 1980, you really weren't even allowed to say breastfeeding on the air.
I feel like this is something we kind of all need right now.
My life changed after my leg was broken in 1985. My world changed. I had the world by the tail. I had every material thing you could possibly hope for going for you in your life. And then all of a sudden, bang, in one instance, it was gone.
The only thing that matters is the love you give and the love you allow yourself to receive.
I'm healthier than I've ever been, only because I got healthy when I was like 40. Thank you so much.
Got it. Hi there. You probably recognize this guy. I'm Ned Rust. I'm his publisher, James Patterson here, the #1 best-selling author in the world. And did you just make that up? I did some research before I got here today.
We are doing my virtual live book signing.
Live book signing.
This is crazy.
More and more authors are doing this. I think it's so cool.
Signing some of the signed copies that you guys can get at premiercollectibles.com.
You're going to be signing these books live over the next 45 minutes.
Hey, what up, this is I'm watching myself. Look at that. I need to stop.
If you're OCD, how is this panic-inducing to you?
They're not
like all these.
They've got a bag.
Yeah.
They've got a bag.
I'm inspired by your success. What advice do you give someone who's never found his passion?
Hi, I'm Judge Janine Pirro. You probably heard of my book, Liars, Liberals, and Leakers. I may look like Greg Gutfeld, but I'm not actually. This is so exciting. My 8th book, The Gutfeld Monologues, is out. This is fantastic. If you haven't purchased it yet, you're dead to me. But you still have time to reanimate and become my best friend.
Biggest pet peeve? Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See ya.
See you soon, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm going to go get drunk.